Welcome to the Efficient eLearning SAP training series. In this video, we'll be discussing the vendor line item display, transaction FBL1N. And here's a list of topics. To begin with, we'll answer the question, what is the vendor line item display? Then it's straight into the practical component. We'll log on to SAP, execute the transaction, and explain the functionality within the report. We'll then cover saving the report selection criteria as a selection variant. And finally, creating a default report layout that provides all of the required information in a user-friendly format. So what is the vendor line item display? Simply put, it's the primary tool for reporting on accounts payable invoices and payments in SAP. The report provides a clear picture of parked documents, documents that have been entered into the system but not yet posted, open items, documents that have been posted but not yet paid, and cleared items, documents that have been paid, manually matched, or reversed. Let's now log on to SAP, execute the transaction, and explain the functionality within the report. We can now go to the folder where transaction FBL1N resides in the SAP standard menu. Start with the accounting folder, then financial accounting, accounts payable, and account. Now you can simply double-click on this entry to open the transaction. The first field we need to populate is the vendor field. You can run the report for a single vendor, a range of vendors, or all vendors. For the purpose of this demonstration, I'll be running the report for a single vendor. If you know the vendor code, you can simply type it in this field. However, most users won't know the vendor code and will have to search for the vendor. Click in the vendor field and click the drop-down list to the right. One simple way to find the vendor is to search using the name field. For example, if we type furniture * in the name field and click the Start Search button, the desired vendor is listed in the search results. I can now double-click on the vendor code to select it. Now enter the relevant company code. For this demonstration, I'll be using company code 8520. It is possible to further restrict the report output using the extensive list of selection criteria fields that form part of the dynamic selections. If you click on the dynamic selections button and expand the relevant folders, you can access these fields. However, for the purpose of this exercise, we will use some basic selection criteria and focus more on the report functionality. Click this button again to close the dynamic selections. We can now choose a line item selection. There are three choices: open items, documents that have been parked or posted but not yet paid; cleared items, documents that have been paid, manually matched, or reversed; and all items, to include both open items and cleared items. Let's start with open items. We now move down to the type section. Normal items are posted documents, for example, invoices and credit memos. Special GL transactions and noted items are mostly used for down payments. And parked items are invoices and credit memos that have been entered onto the system but not yet posted. For the purpose of this example, we'll select normal items and parked items. I can now click the Execute button to run the report. You might initially be confronted with this old style report listing. The functionality of this style of layout is quite limited. To take advantage of the more efficient style of layout, choose Menu Option, Settings, Switch List. This is a toggle switch that allows you to move between the two styles of report. The decision is stored in the system and will automatically apply the next time you use the report. This style of report utilizes the ALV grid, which allows users to drag and drop columns and work much more efficiently. You might initially see a different layout to the one displayed here, but don't worry. We'll go through the process of creating this particular layout later in the video. Note the report output includes both parked items, that is, documents that still require additional information or are awaiting approval, and open items, documents that have been posted and are awaiting payment. Click the green back arrow to return to the selection criteria screen. This time choose Cleared Items for the line item selection and then click the Execute button. The report output now includes only the cleared items, in this case, invoices that have been paid. Click the green back arrow again to return to the selection criteria screen. And this time choose All Items and execute the report. The report now displays parked items, open items, and cleared items. This approach represents a typical day-to-day analysis of vendor line items. However, there is often a requirement to generate reporting at or just after month end for vendor open items. So let's run the report again, but for a snapshot of the position as at the end of the previous month. Click the green back arrow again to return to the selection criteria screen. Select Open Items again, but change the Open at Key Date field to the last day of the previous month. Deselect the Parked Items checkbox and then click the Execute button. This report output now represents the vendor open items as at the end of the previous month. Note the invoices that were paid on the 2nd of February. As at that date, the invoices are cleared items. However, as at the end of January, the invoices represent open items, so they appear on the report output. This functionality allows this end-of-month report to be executed any time after the last day of the month. As this report is going to be required as part of month-end processing each month, we'll save the selection criteria as a selection variant to minimize the effort required to execute the report. Click the green back arrow again to return to the selection criteria screen. Ordinarily, for month-end reporting, you would leave the vendor field blank to report on open items for all vendors. However, for the purpose of this exercise, we'll limit the report output to just this one vendor. Confirm the correct company code has been chosen and confirm the selections for line items and type. Also, ensure the list output fields are not populated. Although the Open at Key Date field has the correct date, it will be ignored as we'll define what this date will be in the next screen. Click the Save as Variant button to save the selection criteria. Give the selection variant a name and a description. I'll use the code AP01, AP for Accounts Payable, and I'll use the description Month-End Reporting. I don't want other users to have the ability to change my selection variant, so I'll set the Protect Variant checkbox. This means the variant can only be changed by the person who created it or last changed it. Select the Open at Key Date line, Click in the Selection Variable field and then click the drop-down list to the right. Double-click on Dynamic Date Calculation. Now click in the Name of Variable field and click the drop-down list to the right. Double-click on the entry for Last Day of Previous Month. Now click the Save button to save the selection variant. Click the green back arrow to exit the transaction. I can now double-click on the transaction code again to run the report. Note the Open at Key Date field has defaulted to the current date, as expected. Click on the Get Variant button to display the list of available selection variants. Then double-click on the selection variant we created earlier. Note the Open at Key Date field is now automatically set to the last day of the previous month. Click the Execute button to run the report. As expected, the report is showing the position as at the end of January. We now move on to the creation of the report layout. For this part of the demonstration, I've reverted to the old style of layout and removed the default layout for the report so that we can start from the beginning. Again, populate the vendor and company code fields. This time choose All Items and ensure both Normal Items and Parked Items are selected. Note, this is important, make sure the Layout field is blank. You can enter a layout in this field and it will be used on the report output. However, note that this value is saved and will automatically populate this field each time the report is executed, until it's removed or changed to a different layout. Additionally, it will override any default report layout you choose in the next step, which can be a source of confusion. So for the purpose of this exercise, we'll leave the layout field blank. Click the Execute button to run the report. As I mentioned previously, you might initially see a different layout, but don't worry, as the process we'll be using to create the new default layout works exactly the same regardless of the starting point. Again, note that we are confronted with this old style of report listing. To take advantage of the more efficient style of report layout, choose Menu Option, Settings, Switch List. As I mentioned earlier, this is a toggle switch that allows you to move between the two styles of report. The decision is stored in the system and will automatically apply the next time you use the report. The current layout doesn't contain the desired columns or sort criteria. Let's first start by identifying the current layout. Click on the Select Layout button. The line highlighted in green is the current layout. Click the Cancel button to return to the report output. We'll now create our own user-specific default layout with the desired fields and sorting. This is the end result we're looking to achieve. I like to start by saving whatever layout is currently displayed as my user-specific default, and then work through the process starting from the beginning. Click the Save Layout button. In the Save Layout field, enter a code for the layout. User-specific layouts must begin with a letter of the alphabet. I'll use the code AP01, AP for Accounts Payable. Also enter a name for the layout. I'll simply name it My Layout. Set the user-specific and default setting checkboxes. This means the layout will be specific to my user ID, that is, only I can see the layout, and it will become my default layout. Click the Continue button to save the layout. We can now amend the layout to suit our requirements. Click on the Change Layout button. Let's begin by removing the current fields from the report. Click on the first field in the displayed columns on the left, and then scroll to the bottom of the list. Now hold down the Shift button and click on the last field at the bottom of the list. Click the right arrow to hide the selected fields. Click on the column name heading on the right to sort the fields alphabetically. We can now choose the desired fields for the report output. Let's start with the first field in the list, Cleared Open Items symbol. To begin with, let's simply scroll through the alphabetically sorted list to find the field. Click in the gap underneath the scroll bar to scroll down a page at a time until you reach the part of the list containing the Cleared Open Items symbol. You may see two entries for this field. I'm not sure which field is correct, so I'll select both of them. Click on the first entry, then hold down the Shift button and click on the second entry to select both fields. Now click the left arrow to show the selected fields. You can also search for the fields. Click the Find button. The next field in the list is Doc Status, so let's type in the word Status in the search term field and click the green tick icon. If you can't see the selected field, click here and drag the dialog box out of the way. If the correct field has been selected, you can click the Cancel button to close the dialog box. Click on the selected entry and click the left arrow to show the selected field. Use your preferred method to select the relevant fields and move them to the left to show them on the report. I'll speed up this part of the process so we can proceed with the next step. Click the green tick icon to transfer the chosen fields to the report output. Of the two Cleared Open Items symbol fields, this is the one I wish to keep. To remove the second field, click on the column heading and then right-click on the column heading and choose Hide. We now have the correct fields for the report output. Click the Save Layout button to save our work in progress layout. Click the green tick icon to continue, and then click Yes to overwrite the existing layout. Immediately I can see a couple of issues with the report output. Depending on your initial layout, you may or may not have the same problem. You'll notice with the company code field, the cells have merged, meaning the field value is only displayed once. Also, the columns are not auto-fitted, meaning the fields are spread out further than necessary. Let's quickly address those two issues. Click the Change Layout button. And click on the Display tab. Set the Optimize Columns checkbox to auto-fit the columns, then set the Without Cell Merging During Sorts checkbox to ensure the field values are repeated on all lines of the report. Click the green tick to update the report output with the changes. That looks much better. The columns are now auto-fitted and the company code value is repeated on each line. Again, let's save our work in progress. Click the Save Layout button. Click the green tick icon and then click Yes to overwrite the existing layout. All that remains now is to correct the sorting and subtotaling. Click the Change Layout button and click on the Sort Order tab. Click on the first entry in the list on the left, then hold down the Shift button and click on the last entry in the list. Now click the right arrow to remove the sort criteria. We could choose the fields to sort by in this screen. However, let's go back to the report output and look at a more dynamic way of choosing the sort criteria. Click the green tick icon to return to the report output. We can now select the columns to use for the sort criteria. It's important to note that the order in which we select the columns will be the order in which the report is sorted. The first criteria for sorting the report is the company code field, so let's select that column first. Click on the company code heading. Hold down the Control key on the keyboard and click on the following headings in order, keeping the Control key held down the whole time. Account, Cleared Open Item symbol, Clearing Date, Clearing Document, Reference, and Document Number. Now release the Control key on the keyboard and click the Sort in Ascending Order button. We need to make some minor changes to the sorting and subtotaling, so click on the Change Layout button. Click on the Sort Order tab. Change the sort order for Cleared Open Item symbol and Clearing Date to Descending. And ensure there is only a subtotal for Clearing Document. Note, this layout will be used for reporting on a single vendor and a single company code. If you wish to report on more than one vendor and/or more than one company code, then simply add a subtotal for these fields. For this layout, my focus is a single vendor and a single company code, so I'll leave the subtotals as they are. Click the green tick to return to the report output. And save the layout one last time. Click the Save Layout button. Click the green tick to continue, and click Yes to overwrite the existing layout. This is now the default layout for the report, so if we click the back arrow and run the report again, the new layout defaults. So let's talk about some of the general aspects of this particular report layout. Firstly, it's sorted by the Cleared Open Item symbol. So the parked items appear at the top, followed by the open items, and then finally the cleared items. The subtotaling is such that there's a total for all of the parked documents together, there's a subtotal for all of the open items together, and then there's a subtotal for each particular clearing document. The cleared documents are sorted in descending order by clearing date, meaning the most recent payments appear towards the top of the list. Additionally, the sorting by reference number within each clearing document means that the payment document appears at the top of the list, followed by all of the documents that were cleared by the payment. We've now covered all of the content for this video. Remember to give it a like and subscribe if you'd like to be notified when new videos are uploaded. Thanks for watching.